Hello. In this episode, we are continuing on to part 3 of my business evolution journey. I did not intend on this to be a 3-parter, but what can you do? Okay. I didn't want to leave out any important moments, and we will wrap it up in this episode. And we still have lots of good, interesting, pivotal things to cover. So sit back and relax and let's dive in. Welcome to All In with Allie, the podcast for online business owners and entrepreneurs who are ready to create the life and business of their dreams. I am so happy you are here. So where we left off in the last episode was at the end of 2022, I made a very bold decision. Leading up to the end of 2022, I wanted very badly to join a elite level mastermind, a business mastermind ran by Melanie Ann Layer. She was and still is the best of the best. I mean, truly like one of the best to ever do it. And at the time, she was really helping me because she had really shown me this new way of doing business. And it was at the perfect time where I was getting a little too masculine in my business approach. I was getting a little too caught up in the shoulds and the steps and the doing. And she really opened my mind to the power of being. And really changed my whole. I respect and love Melanie so much. And I wanted to be in her world. And I want to very briefly recap this again, because I cannot stress how important and truly pivotal this experience was for me, the way that I navigated ultimately my decision to move forward into this mastermind, and then the way that I did it. It taught me one of the most powerful lessons in my life, which is, yes, there is such a thing as divine timing. There is such a thing as divine intervention and fate. And we were given free will. We are co-creators here. And sometimes I think that I'll just speak more for myself. I forget that I'm a co-creator in this experience. It's not about leaning back all the time and just saying, oh, well, whatever's meant to be will be. You can do that. But we do have a say in the matter. We do play, we're dealt cards, but we ultimately are the players of the cards. So when we say things like, I really want that, and I think I'll be ready for it in a year. I'll be ready for that when. I really do picture God saying, so be it. You could have said you want that tomorrow. You could have said that you're ready for that now, but you're saying you're ready for it in a year. It's not necessary, but I gave you free will. So be it. And I just had this level, this moment of clarity in that season. I was like, why am I projecting my future success, which is ultimately what I was doing, right? I was saying, when I am more successful, when I am making more money, then. But what I have learned since then is that it's the other way around. When I am, then. When I decide and when I move, then. And this reminds me of like one of Melanie's most famous quotes is, I move and the universe responds. I think I just jacked that up. But you go first and the universe responds. That's what it is. And I have found this to be true. And it's not always easy. It's not. It's a beautiful saying. And when you do it and it works out, it's like, I'm going to do that forever. I'm always going to go first. And you can. And And, there are different seasons where that feels more difficult, at least in my experience. But anyway, I had this breakthrough and was like, oh my God, oh my God. I don't want to project that. I want it now. What would it look like to claim it and be it and be her now? So, like I already said in the last video, New Year's Eve, I had $20,000 to put somewhere so I didn't have to put in taxes. And I invested in Unity Mastermind, $15,555 a month and a year-long commitment. So this was a declaration that I am this woman now. I play at this level, not in a year, but right now. So I literally woke up as a new person the next day. And then this leads us to the cliffhanger from the last episode. I also found out I was pregnant, not the next day, but within, I think it was about the first week or so in January. So not only did I make this, what felt like a life-changing, and what was in hindsight, a life-changing decision and investment and declaration in my business, but I also changed the landscape of my life and found out that I was pregnant with who would be Rhett eventually. And that was a doozy. That was quite a doozy, because here's the thing about that. Chris and I wanted to get pregnant. We knew that we were ready. We were ready for sure and to begin the process of having another baby. But you never know, you never know when that's going to happen. And it was immediate. So the thing about that is, while we knew that that's what we wanted, when I had made that business decision, I had forgotten about that. I really didn't take that into account. And by the way, thank God, because I really think if I had paused and overthought the situation and tried to overthink, well, what if this happens? And what if that happens? And then I thought, oh my God, we're trying to have a baby right now. What if I get pregnant? What if I have an awful pregnancy? What if nobody wants to buy from pregnant women? What if, which absolutely went through my mind. I don't think I would have moved forward with it. I think that would have probably been enough of, who knows? I don't know. I probably would have still moved forward with it, but it would have stressed me out, but it's okay. It's okay. Don't worry, because it still did stress me out, because I got pregnant. And now I have this huge business expense every single month. And now I don't know what the next 9 months are going to look like, right? And you never know. And that brought in a lot of doubt into my mind, a lot, because of course there's the uncertainty of how are you going to feel and what's your productivity going to look like. But then I had never been pregnant before as a business owner. Like when I started this business, I had already had crews. So I had never navigated pregnancy with a public facing brand. And then I got my mind about that. And I was like, well, do people even want to work with pregnant women? Like, is that a thing? Like, do people want to hire pregnant coaches, or do they overthink the situation, like about maternity leave and hormones and anything? I mean, it is something to consider. So I was like, oh God, what have I done? What have I done? So very quickly, I realized that if I didn't get my mindset in check and find a way to manage my mindset and my energy, I was going to be in big, big, big trouble, because I saw where this was going. And I realized that I was on the cusp and like very much so at risk of going into this very violent, negative downward spiral, right? And that's kind of how it starts, right? Like if you're watching the video right now, you're kind of on the cusp. It starts with these tiny little doubts and thoughts, these like kind of insidious little thoughts. And then it turns into, some beliefs and some rules that you make for yourself. And then it just and then it creates stress, and then it creates worry, and then it creates panic. And then it manifests into physical issues because you're not taking action in the same way, and you're putting out this energy. And the next thing you know, you're in a full blown downward spiral. And I've experienced this, and I know this. So thank God for self-awareness, because I saw where this was going, and I literally could not afford to go down this path, right? And, when you make a big leap in business, you really have two options. Land on your feet and have it be something that works out in a good situation, positive situation, what you want ultimately, or fall on your face. And there's good that can come from falling on your face for sure, but that's really kind of how that goes. And I've also learned that this is why so many people end up falling on their face after making these really, really big commitments, because they take a leap out of faith, right? Maybe they don't think something through. Maybe they do think it through. They take a leap in a moment of faith, but while they're in the air, when there's still all of this possibility of how this thing can go, they start freaking the hell out. And I don't know if you've ever tried to make a literal leap, like an actual leap. Like imagine jumping from one porch to another porch. How you get to the other side and not bust your ass is you commit to the jump. That's what you do, right? You jump and you keep your eye on the prize. You don't jump and look around and look for, is there another porch I should land on? Am I going to fall? What do I need to worry about? No. You keep your eye on the prize, you commit, and you land on your feet. It's when you jump and you're looking around, you're freaking out, and you think you're going to fall, and you overthink it, that you end up busting your ass, right? And this is how this happens in real life. And I realized, okay, I just made a huge leap. This can go a million different ways. This can go a million different ways. And how this goes is largely dependent on how much I commit and own this leap. So having that awareness, I realized, okay, I need to get myself in check. I need to redecide. I need to recommit, and I need to redecide, because here's the thing with me, getting out is never an option. When I commit to something that big, when I sign a contract, I realize life will life and things are going to happen. But I really, really believe that when you make a decision from the place of your highest self, and you learn how to do this. And I believe that's exactly what I did with this mastermind. I had thought this through. I knew what I wanted. I decided it felt right in my soul. I took it from, I'm a Manny Jen, an emotional authority. I made sure I was in a calm state. This wasn't just a flippant decision. I had thought this through. And I believe when you make a decision from the place of your highest self, God knows what's coming down the pike, right? We don't. We have a limited perspective. Source knows. So I have a level of faith that even if I commit to something, I'm meant to stay in it, right? Unless obviously there's exceptions to everything. And I'm sure that we could think of a crazy ass scenario, right? Let's say if Melanie was truly a fraud or something, and that's a different scenario. But all things considered and all things even, getting out is never an option to me for that reason. And I look at that for business and many other decisions, right? So getting out of the contract because I got pregnant or because I was doubting myself, never, ever, ever, ever an option. I don't play that game. So I'm in for a year. So what I needed to do was I needed to create a level of structure and something for me that would keep me on my game. All right. After the first trimester, because first trimester was awful. It was the same with cruise. Nauseous all day, zero energy, hated everything, couldn't function. I did not do anything my first trimester. But once I got past that, thank God, I was feeling back to myself. And I created this ritual, okay? And I was doing this thing damn near every single day where I would wake up and I would journal. And this is back when I was introduced to Dr. Andrea Morningstar, who's been on this podcast. She's been a coach of mine and a mentor of mine as well. But she and I were both in Unity Mastermind, and I was introduced to her work. And I learned this morning ritual from her where she would bless her water and pray and basically activate the energy that, the specific energy that you want for that day. And then journal and essentially declare how the day is going to go. And it was a period of gratitude and what the way that I used this was every single day, just about every single day, I would wake up, I would do this in some way. And any doubt that would come through, I just redecided. I reminded myself. I brought myself back to my original decision, to the original goal of landing on my feet. And I basically decided every single day, this is going to be my best year in business. And I am going to be the walking embodiment, the example of the most successful pregnant woman on the planet. I'm going to make pregnancy look good and very, very lucrative, basically, right? Because I had all these fears that nobody would want to hire pregnant women. I was like, nope, that's not an option. Cutting that off immediately. What's the opposite of that? Everybody wants to hire me. I am just oozing love and energy and, I'm more connected and whatever, and I literally wrote into existence what I wanted to see. I tracked almost every single dollar that came through my business. I looked back on those journal entries and I was like, thank you, God, for a $5,000 day. Thank you, God, for a $60 day. Thank you, God, for this. And I was like, I was so hyper focused on what was working, and I damn near starved everything that wasn't. It wasn't perfect. I'm not saying that I didn't have my moments. I was pregnant, mind you. I had my moments, but I got really, really good. I was dialed in. I was dialed in a way that I've never been before. And I had to be, right? And people have different opinions on pressure. Some pressure creates diamonds, some pressure can break you. And I realized I was right there in the middle. It could go either way, but I had already committed. So letting this break me was not an option. Just something that I refused to give energy to. It wasn't on the menu for me. The only possibility that I was available for was that this was going to be my best year in business. So other things that happened in 2022, I went on Kelly Brock's retreat in the BVIs, which was incredibly transformational and enlightening for me and was such an activator for me as well. If you don't follow Kelly Brock, I couldn't recommend it more. She's also been on this podcast. I'm looking at my notes. I did so much. I hustled my ass off, really. When I was feeling good, this was a period in my business where I was launching upwards of 4 things a month. I mean, I was launching, and I'm talking about new things, by the way, new offers. And I want to say too, I just want to be clear, this was a different time. And I know it's kind of weird because 2022 wasn't that long ago, but I can tell a difference in business. And this was just kind of really a peak an online business in terms of the way that I was doing business, in terms of creating all these new offers and all of these different containers. And people were super receptive to that and were paying, I mean, my offers were, I'm trying to think, on average, $500 upwards of a grand. Trainings were. And then on top of that, I had a mastermind and I had my membership, and things were just really, really working. And my business continued to grow. Had an incredible summer. I hosted my first retreat for my mastermind at the time, which was Muse Mastermind. We went to Austin, Texas at Miraval Resorts. This 2022 is also the year that I hired Sarah, who was my first employee, and I had a great season with her. But I really owned what I was doing and my level of leadership and just like this new level of business. And I was greeted with results, I was being, and I was seeing that I was a match and I was receiving what I was a match for. And I say, when I reflect on 2022, it just felt like I couldn't miss. That's what it felt like. And I'm so fortunate because I had an incredible pregnancy and it was easy. After that first trimester, I felt really good. I'm one of those weirdos. I love being pregnant. So I felt really good. I was taking care of myself. I was also, I think that's important too. I was doing personal training. I had a trainer come to the house my whole pregnancy. So I was really taking care of like mind, body, spirit in many different ways. Preparing for Rhett, which we didn't know he was a boy at the time. So we were being surprised, and that was really fun. Let's see, that summer I had my first 6-figure month, which was incredible. And at that time, because I know I'm going to get questions about this, how that happened was, this launch system that I had, I was just selling a lot. I mean, I was creating a lot. I was a creation machine. Like the ideas, and I was creating something new. Like I said, multiple new things every single month, new trainings, new containers, new private coaching opportunities and intensives and mini minds. And I mean, you name it, I was creating it. And the great thing was, I was making a ton of money, right? I think it was July. I made $123,000. It was either $123,000 or $124,000 cash. That's unbelievable. And I had never done that before. But I was like peak hustle. And let me tell you how much of that was recurring. Not a lot. Not a lot at all. So that was, if I had any regrets in 2022, it was, I made a lot of money. We also spent a lot of money, in lots of good ways. And I don't regret that at all. But a lot of that money, it was one-time type payments, no recurring, which was silly because what was about to happen? I was about to go on mat leave. Now, I had a lot of cash, so that's cool. But I also had a ton of overhead, like a ton of overhead. I not only, of course, had this mastermind payment, but I had an employee and I had lots of other contractors and personal things too. So expenses were super high, and I was about to have a baby, and I just didn't understand what I understand now, or maybe I understood it, but I wasn't practicing it, thinking that this would last forever. And business ebbs and flows. Okay. So I had this huge month, and I'm so grateful because when I had this month, my mom at the time, she had lived with us. I think it was in 2021 when she came, and she lived with us for a while. She did chemo at our home. She had cancer, and she did chemo while she was here because we were closer to the hospital. And that was really hard. And, I've shared about my mom. We've had, it's been a complicated relationship. She's, one of my best friends, but it's been complicated for lots of reasons. And especially her living with us was really hard. And at this time in 2022, she wasn't living with us anymore, but she would come back and forth for different treatments and whatnot. And at this time, she was cancer free, or we thought. And at this time, she wasn't doing so great. She would come and she would visit, and I just noticed she was losing an astronomical amount of weight. Like every time she would come to the house, I mean, she was just like wasting away. But that also wasn't new. She fluctuated in that way, but it felt a little different. But mind you, that I was so slammed and I was about to have a baby and I didn't have the bandwidth and I really wasn't paying attention. But luckily, I'd had this big moment in business and I had this thought, you know what? I want to do something special to celebrate this. It's a huge moment. I want to do something to celebrate. And I decided I wanted to buy a love bracelet. I told this story before, but long story short, I went online to buy my love bracelet and I was like, I don't want to do this online. I want to experience it, right? Like I want to go into Cartier and buy Cartier. Hello. So I started thinking about it. I was like, well, wait, if I do this, I have to bring my mom. I have to. Because the whole reason why I even know what a Cartier love bracelet is because of this sweet moment that I had when I was a little girl and I was playing dollhouse or Korean paper dolls. And we were flipping through a magazine and my mom was like, do you know what this is? It's a Cartier love bracelet. It's chic. It's cool. When we're rich one day, we are going to get matching love bracelets. And this like implanted into my mind. And I was like, well, shit, I'm rich. And we're going to get these love bracelets. So I called my mom. I was like, Mom, and we had to do this like now, because I was like about to be a month out from having a baby. And that's if the baby came on time. And, you're not supposed to fly anytime, you got to be careful about that. So I was like, if we go anywhere, I was either going to go to New York or Dallas. I was like, if we go, we need to go like really soon. So anyway, I booked this trip for me and my mom to go to Dallas and we stayed at the Rosewood Hotel, which was exquisite. And I got to give my mom this luxurious experience, just she and I. And she didn't know. It was a surprise. I just told her, I said, hey, it's a work thing. Do you want to come with me? I would love if you could go. And she went and I have a video, it's on my Instagram, where I was like, Mom, do you know what we're actually doing? And I told her and she cried and it was so sweet. And I couldn't have known that 2 months later, she wouldn't be here anymore, which is so insane. But that's how that went. And it's just truly, I have such a strong belief in the divine because it just wasn't a thought I would normally have. It's not something I would normally do. And I just followed this trail of thought that was like, I should do this with my mom. This should be an experience and it needs to happen now. And I'm so thankful. That was such a peak moment in my life. And I'm so grateful I got to do that with her. I'm not going to cry right now. I'm moving on. So anyway, right after that, I go into labor with Rhett. Okay. And I had Rhett. I don't need to like give all the details. This is a business podcast. I had Rhett and he was healthy and he was a boy, which was so fun. And that was that. And my plan was to have this baby, take a month off or so, get back to it. We had everything fine. My coaching containers and everything was good, but that was the plan. And we're doing that. And I'm trying to think when it was. It was like end of September. So he came September 10th. And it took a while for my mom to get there, which was not like her at all. but she wasn't feeling well. And I could just tell like something was up. And I had assumed, I don't know, I don't need to get into any of that, but I wasn't, again, I was so focused on this baby and taking care of myself that I really didn't think too much about it. But she came around, mid to endish of September, and she walked through the door and my jaw dropped. If I thought she was wasting away before, she was emaciated. Like she was skin and bones. Skin and bones. And I was just like, and it just dawned on me, like, she's sick again. What are we going to do? And she had come to help me. And I really, like, I would encourage you, if you want to hear like the full story of this, I'll link the episodes if you want to hear like the full thing. So I'm going to fly through this because we have so much more to cover. But long story short, she was sick again. And she stayed a couple of days. She left my house. And the week after, we were in the hospital with her and she died. And, what do you say? Like, it was so obviously unexpected and shocking and compounded by the fact of like, I just had this baby and I'm completely just like lost in that world and trying to figure that out. And this is her new grandson. And then she just decides to up and die, and it's just like, whoa. It happened so fast and unexpected. And, in the way that I've described this so many times is just how it felt. It's like 2022, it felt like I was like driving a Lamborghini going 200 miles per hour. And then all of a sudden I hit a brick wall. That's what it was. It was go, 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 go. Win, brick wall. Done. Like full stop. Full fucking stop. Wrecked. Okay? And I didn't know what to do. I did not know what to do because I had all of these business responsibilities and also, I had these goals and I had such an amazing year and I wanted to close out the year strong, but like, what do you do? This is just so inconvenient, quite frankly, and heartbreaking. And it was so lame. It was awful. It was just absolutely awful. And, so the end of the year sucked. It really did. We absolutely made the best of it. Another thing that I wanted to do that year that was a big deal to me was I really wanted to celebrate the year by hosting a family reunion of sorts, a New Year's Eve party for my family and my friends. And I rented this giant chalet in the Smoky Mountains and I invited several of my friends and a lot of my family members. I mean, there was like 40 of us there. It was huge. And I did it all. And that was really, really cool. We also talk about that in the recap. There was drama. That was fun. We talk about that in the recap. So like closed out the best that I could, but things had changed. It was not the same. I was not the same in many different ways. Business was not the same in many different ways. And when I went into 2023, and it's funny, in order to do this episode, obviously I needed to know what's happening each year. And I was thinking about 2023 and I was like, I can't think of one thing that happened in 2023. Not one. I had to scroll through my Instagram to remember one thing that happened in 2023. Okay. So the first year of Rhett's life and 2020, it was just such a blur. And what I tried to do in 2023 that did not work at all was, you could probably guess, recreate 2022, right? It's like, okay, that model worked. Let's get back to that. Let's recreate. let's do the things, let's decide and redecide and all the things and da 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 da. But it just goes to show that you can sometimes do all of the right things, but timing is everything and energy is everything. And my energy was not there. I really think for a big part of 2023, it was almost as if like my soul left my body in a way, because I was, you're in survival mode and you're not sleeping and you're trying to figure out and meet and get to know this new human, and also a new family dynamic, and also a new business dynamic, and also the most important woman in my entire life is gone, and navigating that and grief and everything. And it's just like there was so much new that I was just full survival mode. 2023 was full survival mode. I did speak on a stage. I spoke at the Worth Women, not retreat, but that experience, which was really incredible. Shout out Kezia. And, that was cool. I'm looking at what else. I collabed in the fall. The fall was good. Fall picked up for me. I collabed with Bree Groves and we did a program together, which was really neat. But it was a rough year, if I'm being honest with you. And I really learned a powerful lesson that, again, strategies are very helpful. But if the energy is not there, and also if the business landscape changes, you have to evolve and you have to shift. So it was like, again, I was trying to apply this template to an outdated system in a sense. It was like the template doesn't work anymore. It's not the same. This is a new year, new you, ho. It's not. You can't copy paste and get the same results. And that was so frustrating to me. And I really resisted that. In hindsight, I really resisted that because I had created such magic, this lightning in a bottle experience of most of 2022. And my ego desperately just wanted to recreate it again. And I wasn't, and I didn't. So that was 2023. I don't recommend that. What I wish I had done differently in 2023 is I wish I had given myself time. That's what I wish I had done. If you could go back in time and do things differently, if I could redo 2023, I would have found some way to give myself maybe the first quarter just to be and just to grieve and to just ease in and give myself time to think and give myself time to heal. But I did not do that. It was like balls to the wall. Not even in January. It was before even the holidays. Like still full postpartum, balls to the wall. We got to get this on and popping again. And the energy wasn't there. It just wasn't. So that was 2023. Boop. 2024, I started coming back to life, and I was just feeling more of myself again, right? And it's like I'm gonna go briefly through 2024 and 2025 because there are some things that worked really well, and we'll go through that. But the thing that I really want you to hear here is we are co-collaborators in this experience, right? We do get to decide. We do get to declare. We do get to go first. And that doesn't just mean strategy. That means your mind, that means your energy, that means your whole self, right? You're fully committed. And we're co-creators. So there's still lessons that we came here to learn, and there's things and divine timing and things that we don't necessarily understand because of our very limited perspective on this planet. And I've worked with so many women who have hired me, who are in tough seasons, who are applying strategies, who are doing their best, who are truly giving it their all. And it's not for a lack of trying, and it's not for a lack of desire, and it's not for a lack of deciding and declaring. But if your whole energy system, like if there's something there that needs healing, if there's something there to address, sometimes, not always, but sometimes that is going to slow you down and it is going to impact you. So I just want to say, if I've learned anything from going through that season, it's that we're not robots. And it's that we've got to, or I'll speak for myself, have to learn how to give ourselves more grace. And just know that you're not your results. And I think that, like, if I were to reflect, because we only know what we know, obviously. But if I were to reflect and look at this from like a more spiritual perspective, I think a lesson that I personally needed to learn in that season too was to detach my self-worth from my results. Because I had had such a fantastic come up and I felt invincible in so many ways, but I made that mistake. We're like, okay, now I know what I'm talking about. Now I'm good. Now I'm worthy. Now I've done these things that I've looked up to for so long. I'm one of them. Now I can accept or whatever, But it was based on those external circumstances. And I think in many ways, 2023 was truly a gift for me. As frustrating and shitty as it was in so many ways, I think it was a gift to help me to come back to center. And I don't even really know what that means, but that just feels like the truest way to say it. Just like come back to like what's important. And I didn't have a choice but to separate myself from the results because the results weren't resulting in the way that they were. And also, we can take into account, of course, the business landscape, that's going to shift, the economy, that's going to shift. I mean, there's all sorts of things going on. So anyway, 2024, I start coming back to life. And I'm just a lot of things start working again because I'm just more healed. Right? We're sleeping better. I'm getting more in the groove of my new normal. I'm a bit more detached from the grief of losing my mom. There's a lot of different things that's just like kind of coming back in balance. So I launched LFG, which was my second membership. That was really fun. That was a burst of creativity and excitement there. In 2023, one thing that I did also I closed Muse Mastermind just because it wasn't happening. It just wasn't happening. I didn't have the energy. It wasn't happening. It just felt really good to take a break. And that was me honoring my energy and where I was at. And then in 2024, I felt very pulled and called again to relaunch a mastermind and offer myself and mentorship in that close proximity again. So I launched Rare Mastermind, which we still have going today, and I have no plans to stop anytime soon. It's such an incredible group of women. So we launched Rare. 2024 felt like kind of like finding my sea legs again. Like I kind of atrophied a little bit in 2023. So I'm just like kind of getting going and just like showing up again in my full way. And then 2025, obviously we're just in May. I had to look at my calendar to see what month it is. I'm so like weirdly detached from time for some reason. It's bizarre. There are times where I'm like, I have no idea what month it is. It's May. As I record this, it'll be June when you listen to it. And I don't know what to say about May, except we've had the Rare Retreat, which is fantastic. I'm really loving doing retreats. So I think I'm going to continue doing those. As a matter of fact, I have ideas for one that hopefully, if we can get the ball rolling in time, might happen in October. So stay tuned for that, because that's going to be absolutely incredible. I'm feeling into the Berkshires for fall, which will be such a vibe. So just planting that seed right now. I've been refining my business a lot. I got into the 10x is easier than 2x earlier this year, and that really shifted my perspective and allowed for me to simplify many, many things in my business. And one big focus for me this year is refining for sure, bringing on more support. There's so many ways that I still see that I'm selling my time, or my time is not being spent wisely. So I'm bringing on more support and contractors and team members to support me, but also our bigger goals for the business and where I'm wanting to take the business. I've fallen back in love with my podcast, and we're getting back into that. I'll say too, in 2023, I had this realization. We're backing up just a smidge for a second. In 2023, that's when I had this very clear understanding of how I'd royally fucked myself in 2022 by not creating more recurring revenue. That was just, every day beating my ass. In 2022, I was waking up with like sunshine and roses and rainbows. I was like, you're so great. You're creating, yay for $5, yay for $500. Yeah, And then in 2023, I was waking up whooping my ass like, you dumb ass. Why the frick did you not be smarter with your recurring revenue, you freaking tool bag? It's just so funny. So, that was, again, the powerful lesson. And I would say in 2024 was when I had the bandwidth to really start taking that seriously. I think 2024 is when I created my rocket fuel system and method for running my business. If you are not familiar with the rocket fuel system and you are wanting to create a business with more recurring revenue, oh my God, I couldn't encourage it more. Also, I have to say this too, because I believe this, okay? Again, reflecting in hindsight, in a spiritual way, I also believe I went through 2023 and the pain of that and the lessons that I had to learn the hard way to be able to have this conversation with you today. And to help the countless women since then to not make that same mistake. I alchemized the shit out of that season by paying it forward and saying, hey, that sucked. Do not do that. Do not do what I did. Do it this way. And that's when I created my rocket fuel method and system for running my business, which has been an absolute and utter game changer for me. And I started implementing that in 2024 really seriously. And I'm really reaping the rewards starting this year because I now have a level of recurring revenue every single month that more than covers my bills, that more than covers my overhead, that more than covers many of our expenses and just extra money. So anything that I make on top of that is bonus cash. So I have the luxury now and the privilege now to not have to launch 17 things a month, and if I don't feel like launching something new, or God forbid I get sick, or if we want to travel or whatever, I'm okay. And I'm not freaking out because I've made a bunch of cash and I spent a bunch of cash and I have nothing else coming in. Okay. So that's been incredible. Just 10x vibes for sure. 2025. I'm very excited to see where the rest of this year goes. I am very much in love with. So out of all of the offers that I have created, and by the way, in case you haven't gathered, I've ran my business every way that you can imagine. I've created every single type of offer that you can imagine. I've done high ticket, I've done low ticket, I've done ads, I've done every single thing in between. And I will tell you, the way that I'm doing it right now is really working for me and I'm very excited about. And the type of offers that I will be keeping as far as I'm concerned right now, anything could change, but right now offers that I'm loving and things I'm keeping alive in my business. All in the membership is here to stay. Rare Mastermind is here to stay. X Mastermind ends in November, so that's why I'm not mentioning it, although I love X Mastermind, and we'll do something with that. I'm going to do something with a retreat, and I'm loving some like low ticket offers and content and, getting new people in my world that way. We are in the midst of starting up the process of ads. I'm looking for like dream ad person. Like I'm really taking my time with this to make sure that I find the right one, and we're going to do some ads. But I have these main offers that feel really good that are absolutely here to stay. And then I'll continue to play as I feel called with what I call fuel offers that then flow people into the bigger ones. Cult brand is going really well. Cult brand is here to stay. I don't know if I'll relaunch in 2025, but it'll be available. And if you're in my bigger offers like All In or Rare, you get it. Rocket Fuel, if you're interested in the Rocket Fuel, I'm also going to make a note. I'll link that for you. And that's really it, y'all. Let's see. I made one more note. It's our job to refine. Yeah, I'm sitting on my, ow. I've been sitting on my foot this whole time. That's not smart. So ultimately, what I have learned is we can't control everything. That's a fact. There are so many factors that are changing every single day in our business, in the economy, in your industry. Like the only constant is change. So we know that. So the goal isn't to be married and get so attached to specific strategies. I do believe in, finding something that works and feels good and committing to it and having a growth, but have a growth mindset about it, right? If things need to pivot and shift, do that. Don't expect year after year to run the same play and expect to win every single time. It's not going to happen that way. So our job is to refine and to keep moving in alignment toward what it is that we want and to honor that. And as leaders and women who are here to stay and who are playing the long game and who are here to become the best or one of the best in our respective industries, our job is to create standards for ourselves and to navigate challenges and to navigate lessons and to learn them sometimes the hard way and realize that while that is frustrating in the moment and it's not ideal in the moment, or so it seems, it actually makes us an even better leader and mentor and overall human, right? Like I realize, when I hired Melanie, one of the reasons why I wanted to hire her, and one of the reasons why I was so attracted to her in that season is because before I got into her mastermind, I watched her navigate this really hard season where she was being dragged through the freaking mud. Like all these people were, trying to defame her and saying all these, just awful things and attacking her. And she just, she really took it head on and led so powerfully. And, I had heard other stories about some things that she was experiencing, just with like past clients and current clients, really difficult things that I had thought at the time, like, my God, that would bring me to my knees. That would take me out of business or maybe, like terrifying things. But I watched her lead through it so gracefully and powerfully and come out the other side. And I was like, that's it. Like if I'm going to walk beside anybody, if I'm going to trust anybody, if I'm going to lean in and receive support from anybody, I don't just want the person who knows how to be and knows how to be chill and fun and charismatic when things are working. I don't want to just work with a person who knows how to make money. I want to work with the woman who's done it all, who's navigated the really low seasons where things weren't working and then experienced and cracked the code in other seasons and who learned how to win, and then who's walked through fire and has been forged in fire. Like, who better to walk beside than the woman who's navigated that? So I take that and I try and remind myself of that all the time. Like, anytime I'm going through a difficult situation, whether that be with a client or whether that be in my business or whatever, my job isn't to necessarily judge that or to make it wrong or even try and bypass it as quickly as possible. My job is to learn the damn lesson and get to the other side while upholding my standards and leading myself the best of my ability along the way. Because then, and only then, can I turn around or come on here and speak to you from a place of been there, done that, got the t-shirt, and here's how you can get through it faster, better, stronger than I did. That's mentorship. So while, I joke about 2023 and it sucks and it was really hard, it might have been my biggest gift in business because it taught me so much, and because I refined so much and I came out the other side stronger. I didn't let it break me. I stayed in the game. And here we are today, and I'm able to tell you the story and say, hey, avoid that if you can. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's hot. Don't touch that. That's cool. So the lessons they're here to strengthen us, not break us. And it's simply our job to stay in the game no matter what. Not all seasons are going to be winning seasons. And you don't want them to be. Winning seasons are awesome, but it's the L's that make you somebody and that make you richer of a person and worth talking to. All right. Honestly, I'm kind of proud of myself that I just did that in an hour. I thought it was going to be longer, so I'll take it. If you're still listening, thank you. I hope you enjoyed this story. I hope this was helpful for you. If there are any follow-up questions or anything that you want me to expound on and go deeper into, please let me know on the YouTube video and I will do a separate episode. I've already gotten a couple questions from episode 1. Episode 2 hasn't gone live yet, so I haven't gotten feedback on that. But please put it on the YouTube video and I will happily deepen and expound on anything that you wish. I'm going to link that 2022 recap in the show notes and also the rocket fuel strategy and any other resources that I think might be helpful for you. I love you. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for those of you who have rode with me throughout all the seasons. Some of you literally have been here since the start of this podcast, since even before the podcast. Some of you are brand new. Some of you have found me somewhere along the way and have given me so much grace as I've grown as a business owner, as a woman, as a wife, as a mom, as a human. So thank you for that. It is my honor and my privilege, and I'm just grateful. So thank you. To many, many more. Love you.